Adam had always dreamed of exploring distant worlds, uncovering ancient ruins and seeing the stars from places no human had ever been. As a scientist and explorer, his job took him across the galaxy, but this particular mission to the remote planet of Zorion was unlike any other. This planet was known for its strange, almost mythical reputation, inhabited by a race of beings said to be more advanced than humans. But there were rumors of danger too. Some had claimed that whoever entered their territory never returned. Adam pushed those thoughts to the back of his mind as he adjusted his backpack and stepped onto the planet's surface. His boots sank into the soft violet soil as he gazed at the towering, jagged peaks in the distance. The air was thin but breathable, and the sky was a strange shade of green, unlike anything he had ever seen before. He smiled, excited to start his journey. He walked for hours, carefully documenting the flora and fauna. Strange trees with glassy, iridescent leaves stretched high into the sky, their branches swaying in the wind as if they had a life of their own. Unfamiliar sounds echoed in the distance, some of them animal calls, others more mechanical, like distant hums from hidden machines. As he ventured deeper into the planet's forests, the atmosphere grew heavier, as though the planet itself was watching him. Then, just as the sun began to set, he found it, a temple. It wasn't much of a surprise. Adam had been expecting ruins of some kind. But this structure was unlike anything he had ever encountered. The entrance was hidden beneath overgrown vines and moss, giving it an ancient, forgotten feel. The stone walls were etched with symbols that seemed to pulse with faint energy, glowing softly in the twilight. Adam's heart raced. He had found it, the heart of the mystery. His dream come true. He moved cautiously toward the entrance, setting down his equipment to examine the runes more closely. The symbols seemed to move, shifting when he wasn't looking directly at them. This was no ordinary ruin. This was something alive. As he stepped inside the temple, a strange feeling washed over him. The air was cooler, the silence almost oppressive. It was as if the temple was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone. Suddenly, without warning, the ground beneath him began to shake. Adam staggered, reaching out to steady himself against the wall. A low rumble filled the space, and the light from his flashlight flickered, as if the very energy in the room was shifting. He heard something, footsteps, heavy and deliberate, coming from deeper inside the structure. Before he could react, the temple's massive doors slammed shut behind him, trapping him inside. His heart pounded in his chest as he spun around, searching for an escape. But there was no way out. "Who's there?" he shouted into the darkness, his voice barely carrying over the booming sound of his own pulse in his ears. Then, a voice, low and commanding, echoed through the temple. "You dare to trespass here, human?" Adam froze. The voice was unmistakably alien, but it didn't feel foreign in the way he expected. It felt ancient, regal. The tone was not one of kindness, but one of power. "Who are you?" Adam called out, trying to sound confident despite the rising panic inside him. He wasn't sure if he was speaking to a person or some kind of automated defense system. Either way, he needed answers. The voice came again, this time clearer, with an unmistakable edge of anger. "I am the Queen of Zorion, and you, human, have dared to invade my sacred domain." Adam's stomach dropped. The Queen? Was he speaking to the ruler of this alien race? His mind raced through every bit of information he had gathered before setting foot on this planet. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. "What do you want with me?" Adam asked, his voice trembling slightly despite his best efforts to remain composed. "Leave now," the Queen's voice demanded. "Leave my world or face the consequences." Adam took a deep breath. The situation was getting serious, and he was in no position to argue. But something about her words stuck with him. "I'm just an explorer," he said carefully. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I was just curious. I didn't know this place belonged to you." The voice grew colder, sharper. "You humans are all the same. always poking into places where you do not belong, always assuming the universe is yours to explore. Adam took a step back, his mind whirring. He needed to calm her down somehow. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said, trying to sound sincere. "I came here to learn, not to conquer. I can leave if that's what you want." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a flicker of movement caught his eye. The air around him shimmered, and the shadows in the temple seemed to shift. A figure materialized before him, tall, regal, and imposing. She was unlike any human he had ever seen. The alien woman before him was stunning. Her skin was a pale shade of violet, her features delicate and sharp, like something sculpted by an artist. Her eyes, glowing softly with an eerie light, locked onto him with an intensity that made Adam's breath catch. She wore a flowing silver armor that seemed to blend seamlessly with the temple itself, reflecting the strange light that filled the room. "Leave me alone, human," she said again, this time with a low growl in her voice. "I do not need your help. Your kind does not belong here." Adam held up his hands, trying to calm the situation. "I understand, but I'm not here to intrude. I didn't know you existed. I swear I just wanted to study the ruins, learn about your people." Her eyes narrowed. "You think knowledge gives you the right to disturb my world?" "I'm not here to take anything from you," Adam said, his voice softening. I don't understand. Why is this place so important to you?" For a moment, the Queen said nothing. She studied him, her gaze unwavering. Adam could feel the weight of her stare like a physical force. And then, she spoke again, her voice quieter this time, though still tinged with frustration. "This place is sacred, human, and I am its protector. I will not allow anyone, especially your kind, to desecrate it." Adam didn't know what to say to that. He had stumbled into something far bigger than he had anticipated. The alien queen's power was undeniable, and he was beginning to realize that his journey on this world might not be as simple as he had imagined. "Then what do you want from me?" Adam asked, taking a step forward cautiously. The queen's eyes flashed with annoyance. "I want you to leave. I want you to forget you ever saw this place and never return. If you value your life, you will do as I command." Adam stood frozen, torn between his natural curiosity and the clear threat in front of him. But deep down he knew one thing. He wasn't leaving without answers. Whatever the Queen's reasons were for her anger, he would find a way to understand her world. And somehow he would break through the walls of silence and fury she had built around herself. But for now, Adam realized, he had no choice but to obey. Adam stepped back, trying to make sense of the situation. The alien queen, still standing tall before him, watched him closely. Her eyes were sharp, filled with an intensity that could pierce through the strongest defenses. He was starting to feel the weight of her gaze, like she was examining every inch of his soul. "I don't want trouble," Adam said, his voice steady but carrying a hint of uncertainty. "But if I'm not allowed to leave yet, I need to understand why you're so angry, why this place matters so much." The Queen's lips curled into a tight, controlled smile, but it did not reach her eyes. "You are persistent," she said, her tone still cold. "I will tell you why, but you will regret knowing." Adam stood firm, despite the growing sense of danger that clung to the air. Something about the way she spoke made him think there was more to her anger than just the violation of her domain. Her words hinted at something deeper, something painful, perhaps even tragic. "Please," he said softly, "I need to understand. I promise I won't cause harm. I'm not like the others who came before me." The Queen paused, as though considering his request. She seemed torn, her sharp features softening for just a moment. It was the first sign of vulnerability he had seen in her. After what felt like an eternity, she finally spoke. "You want to know why I am angry?" she asked, her voice quieter now. "Then listen well, human." She stepped closer, her silvery armor reflecting the strange green light that filled the temple. Adam tensed but stayed where he was, knowing that this was the moment when things might change. She didn't seem like she would harm him. Not immediately, at least. For centuries I have ruled over my people, the queen continued, her voice carrying the weight of 1,000 years. Zorian was once a thriving world full of life and power. My people were feared and respected across the galaxy. But that was long ago. She turned her gaze to the distant walls, as though searching for something only she could see. We were cursed, by the very gods we once served. The curse was cast upon us by an ancient enemy, one that sought to destroy us. It was a curse that tied us to this planet. No matter how hard I tried, I could not escape. I cannot leave this world, and neither can anyone else of my kind. Adam frowned, trying to absorb what she was saying. So, you're trapped here? He asked, a little confused. Trapped? Yes, she replied, her voice growing distant, but it's more than that. The curse, it destroys us slowly. Our minds, our spirits. We can never be whole again. We are forced to watch as our civilization crumbles around us, and yet we cannot die. We are kept alive, but only as shadows of what we once were. Adam felt a pang of sympathy for her, even though he knew nothing about the alien race she ruled over. That sounds awful, he said quietly. It is, the queen said, her voice cold again. But you, human, you don't understand. You came here with your curiosity, your desire for knowledge. You think you can fix everything, that you can solve problems that have plagued us for centuries. But you cannot. You cannot undo what has been done. The curse is a force far beyond your understanding. Adam didn't know what to say. He had always been taught to believe that no problem was unsolvable. Human ingenuity had always been able to find a way, whether it was through technology or diplomacy. But standing in front of him was a being who had experienced something far worse than anything he could imagine. And for the first time, Adam realized that maybe there were forces in the universe too powerful to be overcome. Then why let me stay? Adam asked, his voice quieter now. Why tell me this if you think I can't help? The queen's expression softened, again but only briefly. She turned away from him, her eyes scanning the temple walls. Because, human, I am desperate, and in my desperation I have made mistakes. I have let myself believe that perhaps you, someone from a race I despise, could be the one to free us from this curse. But I was wrong. Adam felt a flicker of hope rise within him. Wait, he said, taking a step forward. You think I could help? The queen shook her head slowly, her long, dark hair flowing like liquid shadows. I thought you might, but you don't understand the price of breaking the curse. It will cost more than you or I could ever imagine. Even if you did manage to lift it, what would happen to the others who remain? What would happen to me? You're saying breaking the curse would be dangerous? More than you can comprehend. She turned back to him, her eyes now filled with a deep, bitter sorrow. The curse was placed upon us for a reason. We were not meant to live forever. We were meant to die with honor, but the gods trapped us, and every time I think I might be free, it pulls me back, dragging me into despair. Adam listened intently, trying to make sense of the words the queen was speaking. She seemed so strong and yet so broken. The contradiction was confusing, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of empathy for her. The curse had taken everything from her, leaving her with nothing but a hollow existence. I don't know what to say, Adam admitted, but I can't just walk away now. I don't think I could live with myself if I did. The queen sighed, turning away from him again. That is your curse then, human. Once you've seen this place, once you've seen what is left of my people, you will never forget it. You will never forget me. Adam's mind raced. The queen was right. This wasn't just some adventure to be checked off a list. It wasn't something he could just walk away from. He had to find a way to help her, no matter the cost. But how? How could a single human do anything to break a curse that had lasted for centuries? I don't know what I can do, Adam said, his voice full of determination. But I'll figure it out. I can't leave you here like this. The queen's expression flickered, just for a moment. And you will pay the price for that? Human, you will see the cost of your actions soon enough. Adam was undeterred. I'll take that risk. Adam could not shake the feeling that he was standing at the edge of something far larger than anything he had ever expected. The queen's words echoed in his mind. You will pay the price. He had no idea what that price would be, but he was determined to find out. The idea of leaving this alien world without helping her after hearing her story was unimaginable. She was suffering, trapped by something beyond her control, and if there was any way he could help, he would. The queen, still standing tall in her shimmering armor, watched him with a look of both disdain and curiosity. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was thick, as if the air itself had grown heavier with the weight of their shared understanding. She had opened up to him, perhaps more than she intended, but Adam knew that the real challenge was just beginning. I can't fix everything, but I'll try, Adam said finally, his voice steady despite the growing uncertainty within him. I don't know what this curse is, but I'll find out. We need to work together. The queen's eyes narrowed, not with anger but with something else, something like reluctant hope. It was fleeting, disappearing almost as quickly as it had come. You think you can help me? She asked, her voice still carrying that sharp edge, though now with a hint of weariness. Yes, Adam answered without hesitation. We can't undo centuries of damage, but if there's a way to lift this curse, I'll do whatever it takes. We're in this together now. The queen seemed to consider his words. She stood motionless, looking at him with a gaze that seemed to weigh his every action, every word. Finally, she spoke again, her voice quieter, almost contemplative. You are foolish, human. You think your kind can solve a problem that even my own people have been unable to fix. You don't understand what it would mean to break the curse. If it were that easy, I would have done it myself centuries ago. I know it won't be easy, Adam said, his eyes never leaving hers. But I don't think it's impossible. We have resources, knowledge. You have knowledge. Maybe together we can find a way to break it. But we have to try. The queen remained silent for a moment before she took a deep breath. She turned away from Adam, her hand brushing against the stone walls of the temple. It was as if she were searching for something in the ancient carvings that covered the walls, symbols Adam couldn't decipher. The air in the room seemed to shift as she spoke again. You are right about one thing, she said, her tone softer. I cannot break this curse alone. I have tried everything. My people have tried. But there is something missing. Perhaps it is you, human. Perhaps it is your kind that holds the key to what we need. Adam stepped forward, feeling the gravity of her words. What do you mean? He asked. She paused, turning to face him again. The curse is not only a binding force, it is a test. It was meant to ensure that only those with the purest of intentions could lift it. My people were chosen, but we failed. We became too consumed by our power, our pride. We thought we could escape it, but we couldn't. Adam frowned. So the curse is a test? A test to see if someone worthy can break it? Yes, the queen replied. It is a trial, a measure of one's spirit. My ancestors were forced into this fate because they failed the test. Now I am the last of my kind, cursed to remain here, trapped in a never-ending cycle of despair. The price of breaking it is high, human. Adam shook his head, refusing to be deterred. I don't care about the price. If I can help, I will. I won't leave you to suffer like this. I won't. The queen's expression softened just slightly. You have a noble spirit, human. But it is not enough to simply wish for the curse to end. We will need to find the source of this power, the heart of the curse. It lies deep within the heart of Zorian. The only way to lift it is to reach that source and unlock its power. But it has been hidden for centuries, protected by those who wish to keep the curse in place. How do we find it? Adam asked. He could feel the weight of the challenge ahead of them. This was no simple task, no easy solution. It would require everything they had, and more. The queen looked at him, her eyes filled with a strange mix of doubt and determination. "I know where it lies, but the path is fraught with danger. It is hidden beneath the ground in a place that no one has dared to enter for centuries. Only those with great courage and resolve can survive the trials that guard it. Many have tried. Before you, human. None have returned." Adam was silent for a moment, taking in her words. This was bigger than he had thought. The curse was not only about the Queen's imprisonment, it was tied to the very foundation of the planet, its history, and its people. He realized that he was not just battling the curse itself, but the remnants of a long-forgotten war, a war that had left scars in the very fabric of the planet. "Then we'll face it together," Adam said finally, his voice resolute. "I'll follow you wherever you lead me. I'm not backing down now." The Queen studied him for a long moment before giving a nod. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. She had agreed to work with him, to trust him, at least for now. Adam wasn't sure if that trust would last, but it was a step forward. They would face whatever trials lay ahead together. "Very well," she said. "You have chosen your path. But remember, human, once you enter the heart of Zorian, there is no turning back. Whatever happens, we are bound by fate now." Adam nodded. "I'm ready." The Queen turned and began walking toward a set of heavy stone doors at the far end of the temple. They groaned as they opened, revealing a dark corridor that stretched into the depths of the planet. Adam followed her, his mind racing with questions, but he kept his focus. There was no turning back now. Together, they would find the source of the curse. Together, they would uncover the secrets hidden deep within Zorian's heart. And no matter the cost, Adam knew that he couldn't turn back. Not now. Not when so much was at stake. The stone corridor stretched out before them, dark and silent, as if the very walls of Zorian were holding their breath. Adam's footsteps echoed in the emptiness, the sound bouncing off the walls like the whisper of ancient voices long forgotten. He felt the weight of the journey pressing down on him with every step. There was no turning back now, no retreating into the safety of the unknown world outside. He was committed. The Queen walked ahead of him, her pace steady and measured. Her presence was commanding as always, but there was something different about her now. A quiet tension seemed to hang in the air, like a storm about to break. Adam had noticed it too, the way her eyes darted from shadow to shadow as though she were anticipating something just beyond their reach. As they moved deeper into the temple's heart, the air grew cooler, and the scent of ancient stone and forgotten history thickened. The walls narrowed, and the path grew steeper, winding down into the depths of the planet. The further they descended, the more oppressive the silence became, broken only by the soft clinking of the Queen's armor and the steady beat of Adam's heart. At last they reached a massive chamber, its ceiling so high it seemed to disappear into the blackness above. In the center of the room was an altar, ancient and worn, surrounded by a strange blue glow. The light was coming from cracks in the stone floor, as if the ground itself were alive, pulsing with energy. Adam could feel the power in the air, an invisible force that seemed to pull at him, drawing him toward the altar. The Queen stopped just outside the glowing circle, her posture rigid. She looked at Adam with a mixture of hesitation and resolve. "This is it," she said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. "The heart of Zorian, the source of the curse." Adam took a step forward, his eyes scanning the altar. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The stone was intricately carved with symbols that seemed to shimmer in the blue light. He could feel a faint hum in the air, a vibration that ran through his body like an electric current. "I don't understand," Adam said, turning to the Queen. "If this is the source of the curse, why is it still here? Why hasn't it been destroyed?" The Queen's gaze darkened, and for the first time Adam saw a flicker of something more than just frustration in her eyes. Fear. "Because it's not a curse," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "It's a test." Adam blinked, confused. "A test, but you said—" "I know what I said," the Queen interrupted. "But that was before I learned the truth." She took a deep breath and walked closer to the altar, her footsteps slow and deliberate. Adam followed her, his heart racing as the air around them seemed to grow thicker with each passing second. The Queen turned to face him, her eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and regret. "I was wrong, human. All this time I believed the curse was something done to us, something imposed by an enemy. But now I know the truth. The curse was not placed upon us. It was chosen." Adam's confusion deepened. Chosen? How? The Queen's expression grew distant as she looked at the altar, her voice low and pained. "The gods did not curse us. We cursed ourselves. My people long ago made a pact with the gods. A pact to become immortal, to rule over the galaxy, forever. But immortality came at a price, one we never understood fully. The gods gave us what we wanted, but in return, we were bound to this planet, unable to leave, unable to die. We became prisoners of our own desires." Adam felt a chill crawl up his spine as the pieces began to fall into place. "So this curse is actually a punishment?" The Queen nodded, her eyes clouded with ancient pain. "Yes, it was our punishment for our greed. The gods gave us power, but they took away our freedom. And now, I am the last of my kind, doomed to watch my people's legacy crumble away, trapped in this eternal prison." Adam took a step forward, feeling a sense of empathy he hadn't expected. The Queen's tale was one of unimaginable loss, but it was also a story of arrogance and hubris, something Adam could understand, though on a much smaller scale. His people too had made mistakes in the past. Human history was filled with them. "But why keep it hidden?" Adam asked. "Why not tell me the truth from the beginning? Why hide this from me?" The Queen's expression darkened again, and she seemed to hesitate before speaking. "Because I did not want to face it. For centuries I believed the curse was something I had no control over, something done to us, but that was a lie. It was easier to blame the gods, to see ourselves as victims. The truth is far worse than anything I could imagine." Adam looked at her, his mind racing. What happens now? If the curse is really a test, what do we have to do to break it? The Queen's eyes softened, and for a brief moment she seemed almost human. To break the curse, we must face our own past. We must face the choices that led us here. The altar, this heart of Zorian, holds the key. But it is not just a key to breaking the curse. It is also a key to understanding who we really are, what we have become. Adam felt a knot tighten in his chest. This wasn't just about lifting a curse or undoing a punishment. This was about confronting the mistakes of an entire civilization, and maybe even the Queen herself. "How do we do that?" he asked quietly. The Queen hesitated before answering, her voice barely a whisper. "We must offer a sacrifice." Adam's blood ran cold. "A sacrifice?" "Yes," she said, her gaze distant. "A sacrifice of the past. To break the cycle, to truly free ourselves, we must let go of everything we once were. We must give up the power, the pride, the immortality. Only then will the curse be lifted. Only then will the trial be complete." Adam's mind raced. This was not what he had expected. He had thought the curse was something to be broken with force or magic, something physical. But this was something deeper, something more personal. "What if I'm not willing to pay that price?" Adam asked, his voice strained. The Queen looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and acceptance. "Then you will leave, human. But the curse will remain, and so will I." Adam swallowed hard. The path ahead was not only dangerous, but filled with unimaginable choices. Choices that could change everything. For the Queen, for the planet, and even for him. Adam stood at the edge of the altar, his mind swirling with the Queen's words. The truth about the curse was far more complicated than he had ever imagined. It wasn't something placed upon her people by an outside force. It was a choice made, long ago, a pact that had led them to this endless cycle of suffering. The revelation hit him harder than he expected, and for a moment he felt unsure of how to proceed. The burden of what they had to do now seemed unbearable. The Queen's voice broke through his thoughts, firm and steady, despite the pain in her eyes. "We must face this, human. It is the only way to free myself, to free us." Adam nodded slowly, still grappling with everything he had learned. The task ahead of them seemed impossible. The sacrifice the Queen spoke of was not just about breaking the curse, it was about letting go of everything they had known. But could he truly help her make such a sacrifice? "We have no choice, do we?" Adam asked quietly. "No," the Queen replied softly. "We do not." They stood in silence for a moment, the glow from the altar pulsing with an ancient energy. The air felt heavier now, as if the temple itself was waiting for them to make their move. Adam could feel the weight of the choice pressing down on him. There was no turning back. The Queen was right. This was the only way. Taking a deep breath, Adam stepped closer to the altar. The strange blue glow seemed to draw him in, as though it was calling him to do something he didn't fully understand. The Queen's gaze never left him, her expression unreadable, though he could sense the conflict within her. She, too, was struggling with what they had to do. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with a quiet intensity. "I don't know if I'm ready," Adam replied honestly. "But I'm here. I won't turn back." The Queen studied him for a moment before nodding, her expression softening. "Then we begin." She stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate. With a gesture, she motioned for Adam to follow her. Together they approached the altar, the ancient symbols carved into the stone beginning to glow brighter with each step they took. The air around them seemed to crackle with energy, as if the very fabric of the planet was responding to their presence. "This altar," the Queen began, her voice carrying the weight of centuries, "is not just a source of power. It is a place of judgment. It will test us, our resolve, our willingness to sacrifice. Only those who are truly willing to let go of the past can break the curse." Adam's heart raced. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy. He had always believed in human ingenuity, that there was always a way out of any situation. But this was different. This wasn't about finding a solution in technology or science, this was about the spirit. It was about letting go of everything they had ever known. The Queen extended her hand toward the altar, her fingers brushing the surface of the stone. The moment she touched it, the room seemed to tremble. The blue glow intensified, bathing them both in its light. A low hum filled the air, rising in pitch until it was almost unbearable. Adam felt the hairs on his arms stand up, the energy in the room almost overwhelming. "This is it," the Queen said, her voice barely audible over the rising hum. "The trial begins." Adam reached out, placing his hand beside hers on the altar. The moment his skin made contact with the stone, a wave of energy surged through him. It was like nothing he had ever felt before, a rush of power mixed with a deep aching sorrow. He could feel the weight of the Queen's past, the burden of her people's choices, and the endless cycle of suffering that had brought them to this point. Suddenly, the world around him seemed to shift. The temple faded away, replaced by flashes of images, memories perhaps, or visions from another time. He saw the Queen's people, once proud and powerful, now broken and trapped. He saw her standing, alone, watching as the last remnants of her civilization crumbled. He saw her anguish, her regret, and the weight of a decision that had been made long before her birth. Then, he saw something else, a glimpse of hope. It was fleeting, but it was there, a way out, a path that could lead them beyond the curse, beyond the past. But it required something more than just willpower. It required understanding of the price that had been paid, and the price that still had to be paid. As the vision faded, Adam's breath caught in his throat. The Queen's voice broke through the silence. "Do you see it? Do you understand now?" Adam nodded slowly, his mind still reeling from the images that had flooded his consciousness. "I see it. I understand." The Queen's expression softened, though there was still a deep sadness in her eyes. Then you know what must be done. Adam took a deep breath, the weight of the decision settling on his shoulders. He had always been a problem solver, a man who relied on logic and reason. But this was different. This was about surrender. This was about letting go of everything they had known, everything they had fought for. It was about accepting that the past could not be changed and that only by facing it could they move forward. "I'm ready," Adam said, his voice steady. The Queen nodded, her face calm but resolute. "Then let us do this together." Together, they both stepped back from the altar. The hum of energy slowly began to fade, the room growing quieter with each passing second. The blue light that had once filled the space began to dim, and for the first time in centuries the temple felt still, empty. "Is it done?" Adam asked, his heart pounding in his chest. The Queen closed her eyes for a moment as if sensing something deep within her. When she opened them again, there was a change in her expression. Something lighter, freer. "Yes," she said softly. "It is done." Adam couldn't explain it, but he felt it too. A shift, a release. The weight of the curse, the burden of the past, seemed to have lifted. The air felt fresher, the temple less oppressive. The Queen's eyes met his, and for the first time, he saw something else in her gaze, a spark of hope. "It's over," she said, her voice filled with quiet relief. Adam nodded, a sense of peace settling over him. "It's over." They stood there in silence for a moment, letting the reality of what they had just done sink in. The curse was broken. The past was no longer holding them back. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. "I may never be able to repay you for this, human," the Queen said, her voice soft but sincere. "You don't need to," Adam replied. "We did this together." The Queen nodded, a faint smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Yes, together. For the first time in centuries, I don't feel alone." And for Adam, the journey wasn't over. The world of Zorian had changed. The Queen had changed. And so had he. The path ahead would be uncertain, but the one thing Adam was sure of was that they would face it together.